Dior unleashes the fashion superteam of the decade. Jimin and Lewis Hamilton rewire luxury norms in a collision of speed and elegance in a move that has stunned the fashion industry and defied the conventions of global luxury branding. Dior has unveiled what many are calling the most unexpected yet exhilarating cultural merger of the decade. Jimin, the ethereal K-pop icon and BTS vocalist, and Lewis Hamilton, the indomitable seven-time Formula One world champion, have become the dual faces of the French fashion house's newest global vision. What does it mean when the grace of Korean pop stardom intersects with the raw velocity of motorsport? Could this signal a permanent redefinition of masculinity, influence, and global luxury in the modern era? The tension between curiosity and disbelief swept across social media when Dior quietly updated its international homepage. There were no press releases, no formal introductions, just a visual alternation between two titans from drastically different worlds. On one screen, Hamilton, dressed in a sharply tailored yet experimental capsule look, glared into the camera with the confidence of a man who's seen podiums and protests alike. On the next, Jimin, eyes soft yet piercing, stood in high-structured couture, his silhouette both vulnerable and commanding. This wasn't a campaign launch. It was a silent detonation. By uniting Jimin and Hamilton, Dior has not merely paired two celebrities, it has fused opposing dimensions of excellence. One represents the slow-burn training and global explosion of Korean pop artistry. The other, the unrelenting force of precision engineering and human daring at 300 kilometers per hour. Yet, together, they tell a singular story, that luxury no longer belongs to any one continent, aesthetic, or archetype. It is about control and freedom, about vulnerability and performance, about rewriting the power structure and image-making itself. Hamilton's entry into Dior's world isn't a cosmetic pivot. It is a strategic act. With his capsule collection launched earlier this year, Hamilton didn't simply model the clothes, he authored them. Drawn from his heritage in motorsport and his commitment to sustainability and Black representation, the pieces walked a tightrope between athletic dominance and couture minimalism. Critics were quick to notice the inclusion of Korean elements, embroidered flags, color palettes inspired by Seoul streetwear, subtle, yet impossible to dismiss. Fans immediately interpreted this as a nod to Jimin. Whether symbolic or coincidental, the association was instant and explosive. Meanwhile, Jimin, whose tenure as Dior's global ambassador has outlasted even his public appearances due to military service, has remained a visual and emotional mainstay in Dior's Asian campaigns. Sales across Asia-Pacific rose 15% during his enlistment, a figure analysts attribute not just to Jimin's visibility, but to the sustained emotional investment his fan base holds for him. Jimin is not just Dior's face in Asia, he is its emotional center. And now, with Dior positioning him beside Hamilton, the brand may have just activated its most aggressive, emotionally charged global strategy yet. Fashion critics and cultural analysts alike are in rare agreement. This move is not about promotion. It is about power architecture. In the words of industry analyst Lin Ji Hyen, Dior is no longer selling clothes. It is selling ambition. And Jimin and Hamilton are the currency of aspiration. The synergy between these two global forces has already captivated audiences far beyond the typical fashion consumer. Hamilton's appearance at the 2025 Met Gala in a Dior custom ensemble, a futuristic blend of mirror panels and architectural tailoring, drew comparisons to Jimin's late 2023 Dior shoot in Paris, in which the singer wore an equally otherworldly metallic texture. The visual parallel has ignited theories and speculation among fans and fashion editors alike. Is Dior building toward a joint campaign? Could 2026 witness a global campaign launch that unites East and West, music and sport, vulnerability and speed? The internet has already decided the answer. Viral fan edits on TikTok and Weverse juxtapose Hamilton's aerodynamic poses with Jimin's balletic grace, under slogans like "Speed meets sentiment" or "When power finds poise." One particularly viral montage titled "The Crown and the Circuit" garnered over 3 million views in under 24 hours. The caption? "He is the king of the track. He is the prince of K-pop. Dior just built a new monarchy." For all its visual storytelling, this campaign's deeper resonance lies in its emotional architecture. Hamilton, beyond his athletic record, is a figure of activism, vulnerability, and mental fortitude. Jimin, meanwhile, represents the delicate evolution from trainee to global icon, soft-spoken yet unshakable. Together, they do not represent idealized perfection. They reflect something more honest: performance under pressure, beauty with intention. Sources close to LVMH have confirmed off the record that the pairing of Jimin and Hamilton is no accident. One internal marketing strategist was quoted anonymously saying, "We're not just creating style, we're creating a shared narrative. When we place Jimin and Hamilton side by side, we're building a visual language of dual excellence." Already, murmurs of a possible campaign rollout for spring/summer 2026 are gaining traction, with insiders suggesting that Paris Fashion Week could serve as the launchpad for Dior's most audacious visual campaign yet. If Jimin's long-awaited return from military service aligns with the next phase of Hamilton's capsule expansion, Dior could effectively orchestrate a global moment of unprecedented cultural synchronization. Indeed, the symbolism at stake cannot be overstated. In Jimin and Hamilton, Dior is not just highlighting diversity. It is redefining how we perceive cultural legitimacy, luxury standards, and public identity in a world that is increasingly nonlinear and emotionally intertwined. Their pairing suggests a recalibration of what it means to belong in luxury, a dismantling of boundaries long governed by geography, race, and market size. Fashion media has responded accordingly. Vogue Korea described the new Dior duo as the embodiment of kinetic masculinity and poised artistry. GQ UK called it the boldest brand fusion of the decade, highlighting its appeal to Gen Z, a generation that views branding not as aspiration but as self-identification. To this demographic, Jimin and Hamilton are not products. They are proxies for ambition, anxiety, grace, and resistance. And while neither Jimin nor Hamilton has publicly acknowledged their apparent visual partnership, every movement is watched, every post analyzed, every garment scrutinized. Fans interpret Hamilton's recent Instagram story, where he appeared in a minimalist Dior jacket with a hidden Korean flag detail, as not just an homage, but a visual handshake. They track Dior's advertising cues, decode each motif, and piece together timelines. In forums, they compare color structures and stitching details from past Dior campaigns. One viral fan post ends with a chilling observation: they haven't been photographed together, but they're already in the same frame. The cultural weight of Jimin's return cannot be minimized. His re-entry into the public sphere will not be casual, it will be seismic. For fans, Dior represents more than a brand partnership. It is a vessel that has carried Jimin's identity through the silence of military service. His reappearance, possibly aligned with Dior's 2026 vision, is not just anticipated, it is mythologized. Luxury Insight Asia estimates that Jimin single-handedly generated over $17 million in media value for Dior during Q1 2023 alone, outpacing longtime luxury collaborators. Even in his absence, his name continues to drive ROI. Executives describe the association with Jimin not as a contract, but as a legacy. And now, with Hamilton holding dominion in the West, Dior appears poised to leverage the rare symmetry between their two powerhouses. Internally, whispers persist of a joint capsule collection, perhaps even co-designed pieces, that would permanently etch this alliance into fashion history. While nothing is confirmed, the speculation itself is doing the work of publicity. Dior, always masterful at orchestrating silence into suspense, appears content to let anticipation do the heavy lifting, at a time when fashion is desperate to reinvent itself, not just in product, but in meaning, Dior's alignment of Jimin and Hamilton offers something far more potent than trend. It offers narrative, substance, mythology. Here are two men whose stories are not parallel but convergent. One refined in studio mirrors and global stages, the other hardened by racetracks and podiums. Both carrying nations, movements, and memories on their backs. Both redefining what it means to wear power. And Dior, in this fusion of silk and speed, may have just defined a new fashion superteam. Jimin and Hamilton don't walk, they lead the race. And as 2026 looms, the world watches for the moment they cross the finish line together. Dior's alleged power merger of Jimin and Lewis Hamilton, cultural revolution or media illusion. In an era where perception often supersedes reality, the supposed alliance between Dior, Jimin of BTS, and Formula One champion Lewis Hamilton presents itself as either a seismic redefinition of global luxury or a meticulously constructed illusion. The visual rollout was discreet, nearly invisible to the untrained eye, but its implications have detonated across platforms. The question now demands to be asked with critical precision. Is this campaign an authentic architectural move in redefining masculinity, influence, and prestige? Or is it a fabrication tailored for virality, sustained not by substance but by speculation? We must interrogate the machinery behind such cultural phenomena today. The anatomy of the unannounced campaign when Dior quietly updated its global website with alternating imagery of Jimin and Hamilton, the fashion world halted. There was no formal press release, no orchestrated media blitz, only visuals, raw and cryptic. But should this silence be interpreted as intentional strategy or cleverly designed ambiguity? Are we witnessing a marketing revolution where suspense equals value, or a deliberate ploy to manipulate emotional investment? Jimin's image, dressed in ethereal couture with a gaze simultaneously delicate and unyielding, contrasts and complements Hamilton's sculpted poise in futuristic tailoring. But are these dual portraits components of one narrative? Or two coincidental movements misread as synchronicity by a hyper-connected audience eager to construct meaning? The absence of direct confirmation from Dior itself raises a critical point. When corporations relinquish verbal narrative in favor of interpretative imagery, are they empowering consumer autonomy or subtly orchestrating mass perception? 2. Dual archetypes or digital simulation. Lewis Hamilton is no stranger to fashion activism. His prior collaboration with Dior, reportedly centered around sustainability and heritage, was received as a bridge between motorsport and sartorial innovation. Yet, when Korean motifs began to emerge in his designs, audiences immediately interpreted it as a signal toward Jimin. But was it? Or are these merely design coincidences projected into deeper symbolism by fan communities desperate for interconnection? Meanwhile, Jimin's continued influence on Dior's Asia-Pacific market, despite military enlistment, is statistically undeniable. A 15% sales increase during his absence speaks to brand loyalty transcending presence. But does emotional endurance in a brand ambassador relationship necessarily translate into a shared campaign with another public figure? Or is this simply the fantasy of parasocial engagement, amplified by algorithmic suggestion? 3. Emotional architecture or strategic coincidence. Dior's silence fuels the mythos. The absence of explicit declaration makes the imagined connection more powerful than any confirmed collaboration could be. In this vacuum, fans and observers build narratives. One must ask, is this a genius act of passive branding? Or a manipulation of audience emotions through strategic ambiguity? The internet has answered, perhaps too quickly. Viral edits on TikTok and Weverse have romanticized the supposed partnership. The Crown in the Circuit, a fan-made montage, garnered millions of views in hours. But should viral content serve as evidence? Is virality now a form of truth? How do we distinguish between emotional engagement and factual legitimacy? 4. Dior, as the architect of aspiration, industry analysts posit that Dior's intention is not to sell garments, but to embed ambition. But is this interpretation truly based on verifiable data or simply opinion cloaked in analysis? Fashion, by nature, is an industry built on perception. However, when analysts themselves rely on cultural inferences rather than direct information, the line between critique and complicity blurs. If Dior is indeed orchestrating this dual imagery as an intentional gesture toward global unity and redefined masculinity, why maintain ambiguity? Why not confirm what is evident to so many? Is the delay part of a grander rollout? Or is there nothing to confirm? V. The mythologizing of Jimin's return from military service will be a watershed moment in Asian popular culture. This is not conjecture, it is a certainty based on historical precedent and current market forecasts. However, Dior's potential alignment of his reemergence with Hamilton's ongoing capsule work could be a masterstroke or a myth. Do current visual cues support the idea of a synchronized campaign? Or are observers forcing coherence into a series of unrelated marketing decisions? Can fashion campaigns, typically planned 18 months in advance, truly evolve in such reactive synchrony with external public events like Jimin's discharge? Or are these theories driven by the emotional hunger of fans craving spectacle and convergence? 6. The burden of proof. Media value versus truth luxury. Insight Asia reports that Jimin generated over $17 million in media value for Dior during Q1 2023. Such metrics are often cited to validate the legitimacy of his role within the brand. Yet, these numbers, while impressive, speak more to reach than to narrative truth. Do they substantiate the claim of a superteam formation? Or are they being reinterpreted as justification after the fact? Similarly, Hamilton's cultural capital in the West is indisputable. But does his presence within Dior's portfolio necessarily indicate a collaborative campaign with Jimin? Or is the pairing merely a juxtaposition of brand ambassadors being misread as convergence? 7. Skepticism as cultural imperative. We urge our readers to engage with this unfolding narrative not as passive consumers, but as critical observers. What do we truly know? What has been verified by Dior, Hamilton, or Jimin themselves? Are we chasing a narrative that exists only in our desire for symbolic fusion between East and West, pop and power? Consider the following. Have Jimin and Hamilton ever been photographed or filmed together? Has Dior officially confirmed a dual campaign or collaborative capsule collection? Are the observed fashion cues, metallic textures, structured tailoring, flag embroidery, evidence of intentional design synergy, or the products of interpretative enthusiasm? Are media platforms, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, serving as reliable sources, or amplifying speculation for clicks and engagement? The answers remain elusive. And yet, that is precisely why skepticism is essential. The power of silence in luxury branding is immense. But silence can also be a smokescreen. Point 8. A call for critical examination to the readers. What do you believe? Is this visual choreography between Hamilton and Jimin a reflection of Dior's most daring cultural intervention? Or are we witnessing a digital mirage, constructed not by Dior, but by the collective fervor of a media ecosystem hungry for spectacle? Should we, as informed cultural participants, accept the current narrative or demand verification? As you scroll, repost, and react, ask yourself, am I engaging with fact or feeding into a cycle of speculation? Has this super team truly been formed, or have we created it ourselves? 9. The stakes of misreading culture misinterpretation in the fashion media complex is not harmless. It shapes brand strategies, directs consumer capital, and redefines icons. If this dual campaign is later revealed to be unsubstantiated, what does it say about the reliability of digital culture in curating truth? Are we, as a society, so captivated by the allure of symbolism that we are willing to replace verification with virality, or worse? Have brands begun to rely on the public's imagination to do their work for them? X. Conclusion. Between truth and theater. Dior's alleged unification of Jimin and Lewis Hamilton may become the most significant luxury campaign of the decade. Or it may be remembered as one of the most elegant illusions of the 2020s, a fusion birthed not in the ateliers of Paris, but in the imaginations of fans and the algorithms of media platforms. We present this not as confirmed fact, but as a proposition, an invitation to question, we ask again, is this real? Or is this theater? And in an age where belief shapes markets more than reality ever did, does the answer even matter? Only time and truth will tell. Until then, remain skeptical, stay vigilant, and above all, never surrender your discernment at the altar of spectacle. 11. Cultural fusion or corporate opportunism. The allure of merging two icons from disparate worlds, K-pop royalty and Formula One legend, carries undeniable market power. On the surface, it suggests progress, a bold, boundary-defying gesture from Dior. But we must ask, is this truly about cultural harmony? Or is it simply opportunism veiled in diversity optics? By leveraging Jimin's massive fandom and Hamilton's Western influence, Dior potentially taps into both hemispheres of global consumerism. It's a smart move, if intentional, but therein lies the paradox. If Dior refuses to define the narrative, the ambiguity permits them to benefit from hype without assuming accountability. Should backlash arise, the brand can feign innocence, citing coincidence rather than intention. Point 12. Fans as unpaid strategists. The role of fans has evolved. No longer passive admirers, they now function as interpreters, theorists, and sometimes unpaid marketers. Theories of collaboration are dissected on X, formerly Twitter, spliced on TikTok, and reviewed on YouTube, transforming speculation into movement. But who truly benefits from this frenzy? Fans or fashion houses? This hyper-engagement shifts the labor of meaning-making away from the brand, placing it squarely on the public. It's a feedback loop. Dior posts ambiguous content, fans craft compelling interpretations, the media picks it up, and Dior earns clout, all without spending a cent on confirmation. Point 13. The mirage of inclusivity. There's danger in assuming visibility equals value. While Jimin and Hamilton appearing in similar aesthetics may symbolize inclusivity, the absence of clear intent risks diluting their identities into trend tokens. Are we applauding progress or participating in performative celebration? Until Dior breaks its silence, we're left balancing between inspiration and illusion. But one truth persists: perception is power. And right now, Dior holds both the silence and the spotlight.